These 10 tips are going to pull you out of the depths of silver. My name is Braden and welcome to Valve Guides. Ranking up in CSGO can be very challenging, especially for newer players who can't get out of silver. However, it isn't actually that difficult when you know some of these tips and tricks. This guide is aimed at newer players to CSGO, however some more advanced players might find some of these tips useful as well. Helpful reminders, let's say. Number 10, Wallbangs. Wallbangs are extremely useful when you want to make sure a position is clear, or you know an enemy is hiding behind a wall or a box. Wallbangs aren't too hard, and when done correctly can help you win rounds without enemies ever seeing you, therefore not even putting yourself at risk. Here's an example of a wallbang on cache to do. Simply walk over to this line, aim around this area, and spray. You should kill anyone who is camping in that sneaky spot. You should try and spray this wallbang whenever you're retaking B, as it's a pretty common spot for someone to hide. However, even if you don't manage to kill someone, you'll more than likely damage them pretty well. Plus, more often than not, when somebody is getting sprayed when behind the box, they're most likely going to move, so you know that area is going to be clear. Another example on cache, which is referred to as the simple wallbang, is a bit more tricky than the last, however has great results when executed correctly. Come on over to this box and aim at the second bolt across the opening, and this is going to kill anyone who is watching mid from the white box. This wallbang is great to use when you're trying to take mid control from T-spawn. Just before your teammates are about to rush out, use this wallbang to save them from having to check the angle. You could also use this if your teammate is being pinned down when trying to get into vent. A final example of a wallbang is simple yet very effective on Inferno B bomb site. Come to this spot on short near the carriage, aim at this dark smudge on the wall and spray. The sneaky wallbang will kill any enemy that is hiding in the corner of the site, and it's very useful for one-on-one situations when you have to clear every corner and don't want to put yourself at risk. Number 9 is crosshairs. Crosshairs in CSGO play a big part in how you perform. Having a crosshair that you perfected yourself can really improve your aim. So to find your perfect crosshair, download the Crash's Crosshair Generator. This map offers a variety of in-depth customization options for your crosshair, and for a static crosshair, use style 4. For a crosshair that will expand when you spray, use style 5, although I wouldn't recommend a dynamic crosshair. Just have a play around, see what you find that you like, and you can even choose from crosshairs of some of the best players in the game. The best crosshair, however, is going to be what works best personally for you. It may be very different than everybody else's crosshair, and that's okay. If you can perform well with it and you feel like that you're doing better, go for it. However, again, on the back wall, there's an array of pro players' crosshairs if you want to use your favorite players' configurations, or you can just use them as a starting point and edit them from there. Number 8, your own resolution. Changing from default resolution to a stretched resolution can help by changing the look of your crosshair and also making the player models appear to be wider, thus making them easier to aim and hit. To get a stretched resolution, you need to use the aspect ratio of 4:3 and make sure that your scaling settings for your GPU are set to full screen. Now it's going to vary from Nvidia to AMD graphics cards. Basically just look up 4:3 full screen CSGO and you'll find a tutorial that works for you personally. Number 7 is know your smokes. I'm not going to talk about smokes very much here because we have recently gone over the best ones for beginners in another video. If you haven't seen that video, here's a brief example of an easy smoke on Mirage to smoke stairs. If you haven't seen the video, here's an example straight from it. Number 10 is probably the most commonly thrown smoke on the list being used on Mirage. You need to push yourself against this wall, aim at the end of the plank wood sticking out, and jump throw. This will block off CT, allowing you to take a site without having to worry about dying from a CT spawn. The smoke is best used in an A execute when your team is throwing off different smokes as well, and it's very easy, has some room for error. However, without a jump bind, it might lead to you throwing it a bit off, but for the most part, it's pretty easy to run. Number 6 is know your calls. Knowing your player callouts in CSGO is a must. Without knowing callouts, you will be lost when your team is speaking to you, and you won't even be able to give them information that's gonna help everybody. Callouts will appear on the top right of the screen. However, there are more specific calls for certain areas. For example, a bomb site on Mirage has default, triple, ninja, short plant, firebox, and under balcony. You're most likely going to find yourself a bit lost when somebody is screaming at you to plant default and you haven't learned the callouts. It's kind of stressful, and obviously there's nothing you can do about it when you're in the game, so that can be very frustrating. Make sure that you're studying these outside of playing games competitively. But don't worry, there are maps and radar skins. There's going to be a link in the description for you to download to help you learn. The best way to learn is to just play a lot and brave the harsh screams from your teammates when somebody told you just to rush new box on Inferno and you don't know which box is new. Number 5 is your own sensitivity. Having a sensitivity that you have customized can really help your aim. Play around with different sensitivities, and if you feel like you're over aiming, then lower your sensitivity. If you feel like you aren't reaching players quick enough, increase it. However, bear in mind that you should try and stick with settings for as long as you can, because this will build muscle memory as you get more comfortable with your settings. So I would suggest taking 1 or 2 sessions where you just buckle down and you find a sensitivity that you like, and then sticking with it afterwards. It's also worth noting that games with mechanics as precise as CSGO, you're gonna want a lower sensitivity. You don't want multi-thousand DPI sensitivity here, because you're gonna be overshooting and over aiming everything. I personally play with a very low sensitivity. When people sit down at my PC and try to use it, they can't, because they have to recenter the mouse all the time, and it's really frustrating to them, but I'm used to it. I would suggest trying a lower sensitivity because it really helps with the one taps. Number 4 is playing with friends. Playing with friends is a great way to rank up. In fact, it's one of the best ways to rank up. If you all want to achieve the same goal and you want to start learning how to play with each other, you're not going to have anybody throwing the game or team killing you, and you'll slowly start to learn how each other play and bond as a team. You won't find yourself being kicked out for not speaking Russian. And another great perk of playing with your friends is that if there are 5 of you, you can always play no matter the ranks. Of course, it's always great to have somebody on your team who is better than you that can mentor you in the game, just teach you things, especially with callouts, like we mentioned earlier. If you have a teammate who knows all the callouts and you don't, it's much better to learn from your friend who's a little more understanding of your situation than from somebody screaming at you in a different language. I understand that it can be hard to find friends to play with, but that's what Reddit's for. If you browse the CSGO subreddits, you'll be able to find teams. It's really just a matter of trial and error. Number 3, warming up. Warming up is pretty much mandatory if you want to play at your best. If you don't know what warming up is, it's getting your muscle memory back into gear by either playing deathmatch or a warm-up map like aimbots. These are simple yet really effective maps. They'll spawn bots, stationary or moving, it's up to you, and you just shoot away. It sounds simple, but the majority of professionals will do this around 3 sessions of 5,000 kills a day, and that's without deathmatch matches and team practice. Warming up is definitely a must. Maybe not to the extent of a pro, just 200 days a kill, and you'll see a massive improvement. Obviously, if you're not playing the game professionally, you don't have the time that a pro does, so you have to account for that. Number 2, your hardware. Hardware is important. A mouse with a good sensor and a 144 Hz monitor will definitely help you improve. As CSGO requires precision, having a mouse with a sensor that is good will really help you. With a cheap mouse, not to mention a wired mouse, with a cheap wireless mouse, you'll find that it won't register small movements, which means that you have to increase your sensitivity, leading to a loss in your accuracy. Now, you don't have to go drop $180 on a mouse. You can get a mid-range price mouse for around $50 to $70 and have very good performance. In fact, that's around the price range that a lot of the pros mice would be at. Now, 144 Hz monitors. Assuming that you have a machine that allows you to get more than 60 FPS and you're getting over 144 FPS, an 144 Hz monitor is an absolute must. I cannot stress this enough. I understand that some people cannot get 144 Hz monitors, whether it's just because of the price or you're playing on a laptop. I understand. If you can get a 144 Hz monitor, it will change you. You can't go back. Chances are, if you're in silver, most of your opponents are likely going to have a 60 Hz monitor, which means it's a massive advantage over them. With that being said, you want to make sure that you have a machine that's pushing out at least 100 FPS before a 144 Hz monitor is even close to being worth it. But once I upgraded to 144 Hz, I couldn't go back. I went to RTX and played in an Overwatch tournament there, except the monitors were 60 Hz and I couldn't do anything because 60 Hz, I couldn't see. Everything was blurry and it just felt terrible. It felt terrible. Now you're getting up to the 240 Hz range with some monitors. I haven't tried that yet, but I have a feeling if I do, I'm gonna be ruined for my current 144 Hz monitors. Number 1 is study the game. Who better to learn from than the people who get paid to play the game at a high level? Watch CSGO matches and study where pros place their crosshairs, how they push, what nades they throw, what they buy. Everything they do you can learn from. If you don't fancy watching matches, you can always watch your favorite players stream, and you can even ask them in the chat if they can help you out, assuming that they read your comment. Not just studying pros, but you also need to study yourself. After you play a match, watch it over. See what went wrong and how you can fix that. See what situations you got yourself into that you could have prevented by making decisions beforehand. For example, you could study where an enemy team is playing and next time not push that position or be more cautious. If you have a friend who is better than you, ask if he can coach you. Let him spectate some of your games alongside you and he can tell you what you're doing wrong and why. But most importantly, enjoy the game. Don't burn yourself out and then not want to play the game again, because at that point, what is the point? Thank you guys so much for sticking around until this portion of the video. I really appreciate it. My name is Braden. Stay amazing, and I will see you in the next video.